I get here on time. Secondly, I'd like to thank those that's working in the overflow rooms over the nations. I'd like to thank those that are viewing us on TV as well. 226 channels at the end. I'd like to also thank those that are listening to us via CD or audio cassette. Because you missed it, your opportunity, but now you had a chance to listen to it now. Later sense.
That's right, that's right, that's right.
I'd also like to thank the kitchen staff. They're preparing the food for us. Thank the senior citizens in the senior section. Thank you for those that are doing the translation, for all our translators. Thank you for those that are in a parking lot, just watching over our vehicles. And thank again you all for listening in on today. I'm going to go ahead and begin with the word, and if those that are able to stand, please stand. I'm going to ask Minister Will to read Philippians 4:11 through 13 from the King James.
Now that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. I know both how to be abashed, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I am instructed both to be both full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me.
And the Message reads it as, actually, I don't have a sense of needing anything personally. I've learned by now to be quite content whatever my circumstances. I'm just as happy with as little as much, with as much as little. I found the recipe for being happy, whether full or hungry, hands full of or empty, whatever I have, wherever I am. I can make it through anything in the one who makes me who I am. I don't mean that your help didn't mean a lot to me. It did. It was a beautiful that you came alongside in my troubles. In the last verse, and you guys may be seated, and that is verse 6 in the same chapter, Philippians 4. Before you know it, a whole sense of God's wholeness, everything coming together for good, will come and settle you down. It's wonderful what happens when Christ displaces worry at the center of your life. May God add a blessing to the reading and hearers of God's word. You all may be seated.
Amen.
And so, this is not what I expected. You see, but I kind of expected, but it's not what I expected. And so I say that again to say, it's not what I expected, but I expected because I knew this time was coming. And all the while I was like sitting there with God saying, okay, God, well, I'm going to fast later. I'm going to fast later. I'm going to fast later. I'm going to keep it on hold and spend time just playing video games or doing whatever. And just reading and studying up until a time where I need to study for prepare for a lesson. Because I know the people didn't know better. As far as knowing when they can see that me studying and knowing and being anointed for the word to study on Bible study. Versus putting forth the effort and time with God. And so I came to that level of expectance. Okay. But again, I say that to say it's not what we expected for me to be up here today. For some of y'all are surprised.
Come on, sir.
And so today's message is, it's not what I expected. Turn to your neighbor and say, today we're dealing with the expectations of God and of man. Again, it's not what I expected, but we're dealing today with the expectations of God and of man. And so God had me come up here. He told me, he said, I was sitting there preparing a lesson, and he said, oh, I want you to take no notes. So all I have is just my scripture and then just my little face marker for that.
Amen.
And I was like, okay, God. And so when Pastor came to me, he was like, I don't want no 20 notes. I don't want a long 30-minute. You can't do like you do in Bible study. You're having an hour and 30 minutes. And so I was like, okay, God, well, that's just God. I already expected that because that's what God told me. So when he told me that, I was like, okay, I got it. And so first point when we're talking about expectations of God have you ever been in a place to where you're sitting there and you're sitting there like, God, I got this expectation, I got this deadline, I got to meet. I got this task in front of me that I've got to accomplish.
Yes.
God, you gave me this task, or even so, man gave me this task to accomplish on my job, or in life, or of others have placed this weight on me. And so now you're sitting there and like studying, and you're going through. Because even today, I'm meeting an expectation that God's placed on my life. I mean, an expectation that the pastors have placed on my life, being up here today, seeing that what is it that they have in them, what have they placed. The same expectations are they're put on us, or the same thing that God puts on us, is those expectations. So we have to do like 1 Timothy 2:14, where we're studying to show ourselves approved.
Yes, sir.
And so the first point we have to ask ourselves is the expectation of God, or is it of man? Well, how do we know if it's of God? Anybody. We know it's because of God because it sharpens us. It causes us to seek His face. When it's a man, we're like, okay, I can wait. I can do it later. You can rest and, like you say, you can put it off to the next day and put it off the next day. And then it's like, I get to it. But when it's God's going to keep at you. He's going to sit there and it's like, no, I told you to do this. Why are you not doing it? He'll come through your leader and it's like, why are you not doing what I instructed you to do? He'll come through your friends and say, I need you to do this. You have this talent in you that I placed in you, but you're not doing it. That's how we know it's a God. When it's a man, they go, oh, okay, you're just chilling, you're just doing your own thing.
Teach good,
They won't bother you about it. And so you can let it go.
Right.
The second point, when we're talking about dealing with the expectations of man and of God, is what are we expecting from others? Because sometimes we put weight on others unbeknown. We'll sit there and say, hey, I need you to do this. Before we know it, we put an expectation on them as far as what we need them to do.
Okay.
But yet we didn't give them parameters. We didn't give them guidelines. We didn't teach them how we want the job done. And then they're feeling the weight of, oh my gosh, I'm about to mess up.
Say it now.
He's like, I don't want to mess up because I don't want to disappoint this person. Because we didn't take the time to sit with them and say, these are the guidelines. This is how I want you to do it. Do you understand? And then once they understand, then okay, now the expectation's set. So now we can go about it. The same thing, God does the same thing to us.
Right.
He'll come through the word through our leaders over Sunday. Like last Sunday, it says, tell the Lord yes. And God's expecting, okay, well, I'm waiting for a yes for me now.
That's right.
Or he'll come like when pastor's teaching on predictability, because this is the same time when I was studying this word, pastor, I preached that message because I was studying for a sermonette, and God said, hold on. I'm like, okay, well, I got this word. You know, I'm sitting there waiting like 3 weeks. I'm already ready for the word to give out for the sermon, for sermonette. And God says, no, you can't use that one. I was like, okay, well, what do you want me to teach on or to preach on for the sermonette? And it was werewolves, vampires, zombies. Which one are you? Are you a Christian? Are you standing firm in them? And so, again, that wasn't what I expected to go out and preach that day for that sermonette. But again, it's letting go of that expectation and saying, okay, God, well, this is what you're expecting. Here's the guidelines that you're giving me. 15 minutes for that sermonette. Let me condense it. And so I'd sit there and study again. And so, again, with the expectations of God and man, we have to make sure that we're giving people godly examples. And we're giving people godly expectations of them. That we're not leading a double life in front of them. To where they say, okay, well, you're expecting one thing, but you're not living your own expectation. And then it becomes vexed like co-pastor was doing. And so today I'm up here, like I said, to be an echo from the leaders, because that's what we're trying to do. To echo what that, everything that comes across the pulpit should reverberate within each and every single one of us.
Come on,
and so again, with these expectations, are we living up to these expectations that's within us? Are we giving these people expectations? The third point is, don't allow your expectations to be your limitations. And vice versa, don't allow your limitations to be your expectations.
That's good.
Again, don't allow your expectations to be your limitations. Nor allow your limitations to be your expectations.
Yes, sir.
What am I saying? Let's look at the 12 disciples.
Speak, sir.
Let's look at Peter. Peter was content sitting here on the ground, sitting here rolling his boat, tying my nets. I'm finished for the day. I've done caught all the fish I can catch.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is my job. This is who I am.
Yeah.
Because back then, that's what their craft was. Whatever their craft was, that defined them. And the same day today, we can get in that same spot. Okay, I'm sitting here on my computer. I'm doing my job today. I'm going to type and get this quarter done. I'm going to sit there, work a job, and continue doing that. And that's who I am because I'm good at it.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Or
Yes,
I'm
sir.
good at, even when it comes to ministry. Oh, I'm good at preaching the word and delivering the word, speaking out. I'm saving souls. I'm doing all
Right.
when it comes to the word of God, but I let that define me. And so my expectation is that this will be it.
Come on,
This is
sir.
all there will be. All of it would be what's in here. Would be the expectation. And so we limit ourselves, not allowing God to say, no, I need you to change. So when Jesus came up to Peter, hey Peter, come follow me. Peter's like, okay. Automatically, right there, he let his mind break. He let that chain of expectation break. But then we can go to the paraclete, or the, or with not the paraclete, the collegiate person that was sitting there at the gate of the house saying, please, somebody help me get into the temple. Would you help me? And then Jesus comes by, and the disciples come by, and he cries out because he knows it's Jesus, and he knows that Jesus is a healer. He says, Jesus, help me. And Jesus looks at him with compassion, and everybody's like, he looks at the people because the people are expecting, because, oh no, he's there because of his sin in his life, or his sin of his parents. They had that expectation that limited the man of God right there, saying that, no, it's because of who he is, because of his circumstances that put him in that spot. And so that limitation became their expectation because he was never able to walk. But then Jesus pulled him up and it's like, no, come on, get up and walk. Break that limitation off yourself because you got more than what I'm expecting out of you. And so what ends up happening is automatically he broke that limitation. Then going back to Peter, back in the boat, again, we have this expectation that man can only do what man can do as far as being able to do what's in the natural. And so they're sitting there, they're in a boat, it's stormy out,
Yes, sir.
and the waves are rocking the boat,
Yes, sir.
and Jesus is not with them. And then all of a sudden they say, wait, there's a ghost out in the water. And so what ends up happening is Jesus comes closer, and they go, oh wait, that's Jesus. And then Peter goes, no wait, that's Jesus walking on water. And he goes, hey, I'm a walk on water.
Right.
And the disciples are probably, all his boys in the boat's probably like, nah, you can't do that.
Come on.
Everybody probably thinking that you can't do that. That's probably what they were saying in the boat. Saying, no, you can't walk on water. That Jesus somebody. But Peter, no, you probably just think. And so again, he was limited in his thinking. But then he goes, no, hey Jesus.
Yes, sir.
If that's you,
Yes.
call out to me and I'll walk on water.
Yes, sir.
So his expectation automatically broke that limitation off his life. Saying that, okay. Jesus goes, yes, Peter, come out to me. And so Peter
Make it clear. Make it clear.
steps out, and automatically he's like, oh wait, I can step out on this water. Oh, let me, I see you guys. I see you guys. And so when he focuses on Jesus, saying that, okay, Jesus, you got me, right? But then all of a sudden, wait a second, I'm walking on water.
Yes.
I'm not supposed to be walking on water. All of a sudden, this limitation came back. His expectation of what the laws of nature said came back to him, and he goes, Jesus, help me. I'm sinking here.
All right.
So what ends up happening is that because of that limitation of that expectation came back, it changed him again. The same thing, that expectation changed him again. It caused Peter to sink. But then all throughout, as you see Peter, he keeps going back to God, refocusing on what God's expecting of.
Yes.
And so from there, after that, even after Christ died, this other point within this point is that your expectation should never replace your hope and faith in God.
That's good.
Amen.
Why do I say that? Because when Jesus died, Peter still looked at Jesus. his faith and hope didn't waver at that point. Yes, he might have like went, but then Jesus went back to the disciples like, bring him back. But all the while, Peter didn't leave because of guilt. No, he left because he was ashamed that he didn't carry out what he was expected to do. He's ashamed in the fact that he thought he felt God. But God said, no, I still love you. Come back.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden his faith got renewed in that moment.
Yes.
And that's what your faith would do. Your trust in God would do. Because when you don't allow your faith and your faith to override or to dissipate your expectation.
That's good, sir.
Because expectation will prepare you to do something. The definitions of expect is to wait, to prepare, to be pregnant. Just like when they say a woman is expecting something. And so all of a sudden when they're expecting, you're already starting, okay, well, let me get this together, I got to go do the sonogram, I got to go do the checkups, I got to make sure I'm eating the right things, I got to get the room ready. The husband's like, well, I got to make sure these finances are in place, I got to make sure that we have room for this new person to come into our life. And so that's what they're doing when they're in the expectation of something. Just say, okay, God, well, God's expecting us to deliver a word, to go out and minister to others, and he's like, okay, well, now I got to set the time, I got to fast, I got to pray, I got to seek His face earnestly, I got to be in the morning and say, okay, God, well, what is it that you're saying?
Right.
But that's your expectation. It's your preparation. Your faith is, okay, God, no matter what's happened, just like in the scripture we read out in Philippians 4, 11 through 13, is whatever state I am, okay, well, I'm not meeting my expectation of what I think should be the expectation. Because right now you're in your man's expectation, you're not dealing with God's expectation. When you're dealing with God's expectation, it's God will say, no, whatever it is, don't worry about whatever state that you're in. Sit with that state that you're in so that you meet my expectation.
That's right. That's good.
And so what ends up happening is your faith will continue to push you forward despite what's going on around you. If Peter's faith stayed whole on God when he was walking on water, he would have walked all the way across to Jesus and wouldn't have sunk midway between.
Thank you, Lord.
The fourth point, and I'm done, and that is remember Jeremiah 29:11.
Right.
Most of you all know it. Those who get your Bibles, Jeremiah 29:11. You finish it by the time I quote the scripture. It says, "For I know the plans that you have for me, plans of good and not of evil, to bring me to an expected end." Again, it's an expected end. God has an expected end for each and every single one of us. Plans of good and not of evil. The question is, God, am I going to make it to my expected end? Am I going to make it to heaven? Because that's the expected end that we're all striving for. It's heaven. Am I going to make it up there and sit there, say a meteor hits this place or some disaster or something tragic happens, and we're all sitting there at the pearly gates. We get through this. Then we're sitting there at the judgment seat. We see all our works piled up on the side of us. And then they're being tossed in the fire.
Read your Bible.
And then what's going on is we're sitting there seeing them put in the fire and then waiting. And then God's going through this book.
Yes.
The Lamb's Book of Life. And then He goes,
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
I
sir.
never knew you.
My God.
Depart from me because I never knew you. And you're like, Lord, but look, you see my work. Wait a second, where are my works? You see my work?
All right.
And God's like, no, yeah, you did the works. I did, yeah. And then you're sitting there like, wait, God, but you got to let him in. I'm the one that saved him, remember? I'm the one that saved her. I'm the one that saved him. And God's like, you worker of iniquity. I never knew you. And all the while, because your expectation was, because if I just do the works, then I'll continue to I'll be able to get into heaven because of the works. But God's like, but your heart. Your heart didn't meet my expectation. Your heart didn't meet where I needed to be. And so that's what ends up happening with a lot of saints when their heart's not there and they're not lining up to the expectation that God has. And so what ends up happening is they're sitting there, God, but, and God's like, your heart. It's the expectation. And again, so we got to remember that Jeremiah 29:11, when we're sitting there going through situations, we're sitting there waiting, saying, this situation is not lining up with the Word of God. My expectation of what I have on this situation is not lining up with the Word of God has for me. And all of a sudden, that's when we need to say, okay, God, what's your expectation? Am I going to make it to my expected end?
Yes.
Am I going to make it into heaven in doing this to please man's expectation? Or God, is this, or is my that I'm doing right now, is it even my expectation pleasing to you? Of where I see myself going, or where I see myself being? Are these expectations lining up? So again, what is your expectation? It's not what I expected to be up here today. Today we're dealing with God's expectations and man's expectations. Again, we all want to make it to heaven. That's what the goal should be. To say that, okay, God, I made it. So that when we see our treasures lined up, because all of a sudden you see your treasures, it's like when somebody hands you $1 million check. And they said, this check is yours if you meet this expectation. We want to get that full $1 million. We want to get that full treasure. We don't want to see all these works and then like a mountain pile of treasure in heaven. And then it comes out with like, wait a second, all I got is just a handful?
That's right, right.
And God's like, well, I know you expected to see all that pass through, but again, your heart wasn't right. Again, with Peter, he sat there and he's like expecting Jesus to still be there with him the whole time. And then he's like, well, it's good for you to stay with us. Let's go ahead and build a tent right here. But then Jesus came back to him after leading prayer, and he says, I expect you to stay at least for an hour in prayer. At least an hour. So his expectation, and then automatically told him that, oh, my expectation, when I thought I should be done,
Right.
I'm still going. I should still be going because that's what God's
Right,
doing.
right.
Again, the time in the Word, it says, fear not. Fear dissipates your expectation.
That's right.
360 times we hear in the Word, fear not. Because fear replaces your expectation. You start to fear. It changes your faith. Not only that, but then it also changes your expectation of what the circumstance should be.
Yeah.
Just like when we heard the news of, okay, we didn't get that church that God had said that we should get. Some people's expectation went, okay, well, I guess we're not getting them. But then all of a sudden, because of fear, that's what happens. But then if you have faith, faith goes, oh, no, push you. God has something better for you. And so all of a sudden, your expectation and your faith start to rise up to go for that new best thing that God has for you.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden, your perception changes, and that chain breaks, that limitation breaks. Again, these 4 points go hand in hand with each other. Again, you got to ask God, like, God, is this your expectation? Am I putting the same expectation on others around me? Because we don't want to be around people that don't have the same expectation. And then the third point is, again, that we have to make sure that our limitations are not our limitations or whatever disabilities that we have or whatever strongholds that we have are not becoming strongholds, bonding down our expectations in God.
That's good.
And then the last point was, again, we got to continue to remember Jeremiah 29 and 11.
Yes.
And my time is up.
Woo!